Hello, my paranormal peeps, and welcome back to the Deep Woods Paranormal Podcast. My name is Matt Harvey. I am the host of Deep Woods Paranormal Podcast. I am also the founder and lead investigator with Deep Woods Paranormal, along with my wife Amanda. We research anything and everything paranormal, be it ghosts, UFOs, demons, haunted locations, any kind of paranormal activity, Bigfoot, Sasquatch. You name it, we investigate it. If it's paranormal in nature, we usually will respond and go check it out if it's worth our time. Anyways, so a little bit of information about us and what we do. So you guys know that we investigate the paranormal. A lot of the times what we do is we travel to little towns around us and we meet with business owners or homeowners or whoever. And or witnesses, Bigfoot witnesses or UFO witnesses or whatever. And then we set up an investigation, and then from there we basically investigate and see what we get. And then we come on to our podcast and we share those experiences with you guys. We talk about, things that we've experienced in the past, places we live with activity, and stuff like that. The reason I'm going into this is because we have so many new listeners and viewers, but I just want to cover everything so everybody kind of knows who we are, what we do, stuff like that. So Amanda and I have been investigating the paranormal for over 20 years, well over 20 years, she and I. I've been investigating the paranormal for over 30 years. I've been doing this for a long time. So started with ghosts, then went to Bigfoot once I had my first Bigfoot encounter. And then after that, I was just totally hooked. Just couldn't get enough of it. We do have some haunted objects sitting behind us. If you haven't seen our show before, right here, this little girl, possibly haunted. And then right next to her, the spectacles. Those are theater spectacles or binoculars. They are very old. We do believe both those items have some kind of attachment. So, and then other items in this office here probably have attachments too. I would not be surprised, even though we clear ourselves every time we go out on an investigation. Anyways, speaking of investigations, Amanda and I just had the pleasure of getting to go down and investigate the old San Jacinto jail. This is a historical location. That's pretty much what we've been doing recently, is just doing historical investigations at a couple different jails. But this jail, this has been here since the late 1800s, 1880, 1888, or wherever it was built. There's been over 300 people that they know of hung at this location. This jail has an actual trap door, or used to have a trap door, and they would actually hang these prisoners inside the inside the jail with a window so the public could watch. And they also used to hang people from different trees outside as well on the property. Now, this old town, this old area is an actual town. What it is it used to be a whole town, but unfortunately because of flooding and fires, they've moved a lot of the buildings to other locations. Like the courthouse was built now up the street, and then the Hall of Records was also, which got destroyed in a flood, also was moved. But the old jail is still there. This is a cool location because it has multiple haunted buildings on it. There is an old schoolhouse, which was really interesting. The one side seems to be more active than the other side. There are like a whole crap ton of things that people have donated on this one side, and throughout the jail too, and other locations, other buildings at this location. But essentially, so there's a lot of activity on that one side. I don't want to get into too much because I don't want to ruin our show. That show will be possibly airing here in the next month or so. But so yeah, you got the old schoolhouse, you've got a train depot, And the train depot, the last time we investigated this location was really active. The spirit box was going crazy. That's when we finally had pulled out the spirit box. And we got quite a few responses to that. We also had quite a few K2 hits. And then also post office. The post office is really cool. There's a woman in there that seems to be still working. She still seems to enjoy her job. She seems to like what she's doing. And it was so funny because I had the spirit box on, and we weren't asking any questions or anything. She had just walked outside because she heard a noise, thinking that maybe somebody's trying to break into one of the buildings to check. And as she walked out, I was starting to follow her. You hear the spirit box. It's on the other. Basically, I was behind the counter, and then Amanda had walked around the front where somebody would have walked into the counter and delivered their mail or asked them to mail something or whatever, some kind of goods. And as soon as Amanda walked by that window, you hear a female voice say, "Can I help you?" It was funny. And then I think it said, as she kind of started walking back in and coming back around the corner, I think it said something like, "This side of the counter, please, ma'am." It was clear. This voice that came through was pretty damn clear. I mean, it wasn't just the static and crap that you normally get through the spirit box. I mean, it was like somebody was actually talking. The spirit box shut down all of its annoying noise, white noise that it makes. And you could actually understand the voices. In the schoolhouse, when we were over there, I don't want to give away the show, but the spirit box, Amanda, again, had walked out. It was just too hot in there. I mean, it was probably over 80 degrees inside these buildings, unfortunately, because the windows were closed and everything. But essentially, she walked out, and I walked out kind of behind her, and I came back in, and the spirit box says very clearly, "You should go investigate the jail." I was like, really? Yeah, we just came from there. So whatever was up there, it communicated with us a little bit. We got a lot of K2 hits in response to our questions. We actually will be doing... can't talk today. We will be honoring Clay, who is the brother of Rebecca. He was the paranormal guy at this location. He basically helped out with investigations. Super nice guy. Really enjoyed investigating with him. Super knowledgeable of the paranormal. Because he was there, I think we got more activity. And I believe that we may have made contact with him. He died last year. So we will be memorializing him in the upcoming show. But yeah, it was a cool experience. Definitely, Min and I, for once, actually felt the same exact thing. There's an entity up there that we were very careful with. We didn't push him. We didn't do anything to annoy him. But he was not happy we were up there. I think he hangs out by solitary confinement, and both Amanda and I felt the same thing. He wanted to push me down the stairs. I was standing about a foot from the stairs, and the stairs are a little bit rickety, a little bit hard to get up, and they're just old metal stairs. And yeah, I think he really wanted to physically harm me. He just didn't want me up there for some reason. I don't think he cared about Amanda, but he just didn't want me up there. This is probably the same entity that if you watch our first show, I was walking up the stairs with the video recorder on, thank God. And on the audio, I'm pretty sure it says, "Get the F out." Excuse my language, but that's pretty much what it said. And then as that happens on audio, you hear me go, "Whoa." And I saw a shadow standing by solitary confinement, and it darted to the right down the hallway. And so, anyways, yeah, that location, we're going to be doing public investigations out here, probably a couple, 3 or 4 months. If you live in the Cold Spring area, Texas Cold Spring, Bryan, College Station, Houston, or Austin, or whatever, We will be making those available for people to come out and investigate with us at the jail for a small fee. Now, granted, we will be making a donation back to the jail. We want them to continue to succeed and be able to keep the jail up so that we can continue to do investigations and stuff there. We don't want it falling into disarray and stuff like that. So Rebecca and her family, who runs the Historical Society, do a really good job of making sure that location is well kept. And they've got some, like I said, they've got some really cool locations, really cool buildings at that location. Excuse me. Working off not enough sleep. So, yeah, they've got an old schoolhouse. They've got the post office. They've got the train depot, and then the jail. So there's 4 locations that we get to investigate. So the investigations will probably run a couple, 3 hours, more than likely, unless people don't want to stay that long. But yeah, it should be fun. It's going to be like $20. So if you guys are interested, or you're touring down here and you want to go to a haunted location, this location is really cool. You get to go inside the cells, and you can see, how things really worked with the jail and stuff like that. So, okay, let's get back into what everybody really seems to want to talk about, which seems to be Bigfoot. We've got a lot of new listeners. It seems like a lot of people are really tuning into us because of Bigfoot. I'm noticing when I actually can look at all the numbers, which it's insane. How many new listeners we're getting, viewers we're getting, and everybody's super duper duper excited about Bigfoot. So we're not always going to talk about Bigfoot. We're going to move around. In fact, a lot of the times, you guys, if you go through my old podcast, you'll hear me talk about my personal experiences with them, or my experiences with them. But we're going to kind of move on to like maybe going state to state and looking at different experiences at each, maybe my personal experiences at each of those states. We'll probably go back over those just because we still have so many new listeners. So if you've heard these stories before, I apologize, but we're not going to do that today. We'll go into that in the future. And then we'll start talking about state for state Bigfoot reports, what's happening at those locations, maybe some of the locations that there are Bigfoot reports. There are clusters where, what are people experiencing? What kind of stuff's happening? And we could take a deeper dive into that. So people through our website, Facebook, Twitter, other social media, through our podcast, we'll leave comments on our YouTube channel, Deep Woods Paranormal. Basically, it's Deep Woods Paranormal. You can find our podcasts on our YouTube channel. You can also find our investigations, and then we have short videos there too. And then we also have TikTok as well. So anyways, people ask questions all the time. After I've done a podcast, I usually get a whole bunch of questions. About 60, 70% of them are about Bigfoot in my experiences. And they're just curious. They want to come out with us, which is great. We love to have other people come out with us. If you've experienced anything paranormal, doesn't matter where you are, what country you are, or whatever. Only thing, I apologize, but you have to be able to understand and speak a little bit of English, because unfortunately our fan base is almost all English speaking. So we would love to hear about your experiences. We love to interview you. We're not going to basically ridicule you or anything. We're just going to listen, let you tell your story. You can be anonymous if you want to be. Again, these are just people expressing what happened to them. So anytime you hear any kind of reports coming out, please be respectful of people. These are their experiences. Think about how you'd feel if you had that kind of experience. After I saw my first Bigfoot, I didn't know what to do with it. The only person I told was my wife, and she was like rolling her eyes. She's like, "You're nuts." And so, these aren't things that you normally run into, guys. And people just, people laugh, roll their eyes and stuff. That's fine. Again, that goes back to I tell people, I don't care what it is paranormally. If you haven't had an experience, you need to believe in it. I mean, that's what I would say. You have to have an experience where you can say that couldn't have been anything else but, and put in the word ghost, UFO, Bigfoot, dogman, whatever it is. You have to have an experience where you can say, that couldn't have been anything else but. It wasn't, I heard something knocking, I heard a scream, I heard a howl, I heard a whoop, I heard something say something, unless it's a ghost, a disembodied voice. You should really have your own experience. And if you're in Texas and you want to go out with us, we're in the Bryan College Station area. We go out usually 2 to 3, 4 hours each way sometimes. We visit the San Houston National Forest. We go into the Daniel Boone National Forest. And other areas. I mean, we spend a lot of time in East Texas, down in the Houston area, and then, believe it or not, all around us too. I mean, north towards Dallas. I mean, anywhere along the Texas-Louisiana border, Texas-Oklahoma border, Arkansas. I mean, that whole area is just a big hot spot for Bigfoot. It's Louisiana too. So, anyways, so I'm going to answer some questions from our fans. I don't want to make this podcast too long because people don't seem to be enjoying the longer podcasts. So, somebody asked, am I scared of Bigfoots? The only way I can really answer this question is kind of yes and no. My curiosity usually gets the better of me when I start to go out and research these things. I have had several close encounters with them. I've never been harmed. I've never been threatened. My intent is always just to experience them and try and learn more about them, and ultimately to protect them from us, essentially. I mean, imagine if people knew Bigfoots were real. Holy moly, there's another species of possibly humanoid creatures that live out in the forest. People would just disappear from the forest. They wouldn't want to go out there anymore. They'd probably be scared. And then you have another group that grabs their guns and said, I'm going to go get this guy. I'm going to go get myself one. I'm going to put it up on my wall. And, that's exactly what we don't want. We want to protect them. We want to protect their environment, protect them from being wiped off the planet, essentially. I mean, I can't imagine, I know there's family groups. I don't know how many there are. I don't know, per family group, how many are in each family group. I think I've heard, somebody told me they saw a whole bunch of them, like 80 some odd of them. They're just a big group of them. And I've seen, my personal self, I've seen maybe 12 sitting around in a circle, believe it or not. That was out in Black Star Canyon. And I had night vision binoculars, and I would say I was a tenth of a mile away from them. I wasn't very far. I had the high ground, and I was looking down at them. They were all just squatted down in a circle, and then 2 of them got up and walked up the creek. But anyways, you guys can go listen to the Deep Woods Paranormal podcast where I talk about that, Black Star Canyon. So yes, I have a healthy respect for them. I am a little afraid of them. I mean, like I said, the one encounter I had really scared the crap out of me. I mean, it took me almost 2 months to go back up, and I just had to get back on the horse. I mean, that thing was literally not even probably 2 feet away from me, and it wasn't huge. It was only maybe 6, 7, 8 feet tall, but the damn thing was as wide as it was tall. I mean, it was probably 5, 6 feet wide. And this is the one, I think they're twins. This is the one I call the bouncer. And so essentially, I think that he was just basically telling me, hey, get out. He was bouncing me out of there. So it's funny now, but like I said, it took me a long time to go back up to Black Star Canyon after that. And even after that, I mean, I could feel their presence. It became a point where I could really kind of feel that they were there. I couldn't see them all the time, but I could feel them. And before that incident, I think we had a pretty good relationship. They had seen me for years and years and years, and I'd never done anything to harm them in any way. And then, the whole trap cam thing happened, and I caught a couple of them on Bigfoots on video, and 2 days in a row. And after that, it was like, oh, I trespassed the place I shouldn't have gone. I mean, it's like there must have been like an invisible line in it, and I crossed that visible line. After that, they were a little more aggressive towards me, and I got growled at a few times, and I could tell they were standing behind things, and I could feel their presence, and it was a little scary. It was unnerving. But again, I mean, they're just protecting themselves. I mean, I can't blame them. If I came walking into your living room and sat down and started recording, you'd probably be like, hey, dude, get out of my living room. Or, if you're sitting there eating supper or dinner, and I came in and I'm like looking around at you and maybe poking and prodding you or trying to record you, you probably get pretty upset too. So, I mean, you got to look at it from both points of view. You have to look at it from their point of view. They're just trying to exist, and we're the ones invading their territory. When we go out in these locations, we may not be even looking for Bigfoot, and we may come across one. And people say, oh, I got chased out. They're being aggressive. No, they're just protecting their territory. They're just making sure that there's probably young ones around somewhere. They might have been in the middle of a hunt. They don't want to be bothered while they're hunting. They're trying to eat, Would you, I know people get angry, as they say. But if you were hungry and you were trying to get a deer and, a hunter or somebody else comes walking in and scares the deer away, you'd probably be pretty pissed off too, especially if it was that 8-pointer or 10-pointer or whatever. Anyways, so, again, the answer to that is I have a healthy respect for Bigfoots, and, I've been doing this long enough. So now that I know, I just got to be careful. I don't want to cross any lines. We've been extremely careful, Joe and I, on his property, not to cross any lines. And cutting down, he had to cut those trees down. I mean, he still has other trees on his property that he hasn't cut down because he's afraid he's going to lose the Bigfoots altogether. Just because when they do come in and clear those trees, they destroy everything in the path of getting there. And they cut all the brush out. They basically just leave a big muddy pit behind, essentially. So when he cut those trees down, again, he kind of crossed a line with them, and now they don't come right down. They do come down to his property, but they won't come closer than the tree line. Or if they do, they'll wait till total darkness and they know he's not either there or in his trailer. So, okay. So favorite state location to investigate Bigfoots. Favorite state location to investigate. I like both Texas and California. I've done my own research. I've been on expeditions. I had the pleasure of going out with Matt Moneymaker, and that was really cool. I've talked about him before a little bit, but didn't have enough time to really pick his brain as much as I would have liked to. And, he was busy trying to run an event, and, I wish I could have just taken him aside and said, hey, I've got all these questions. Do you have any answers? But I really liked California. I really liked being able to drive about 30 minutes up into my local mountains and being able to possibly, not all the time. I mean, sometimes the Bigfoots weren't in that area, I guess. There was no activity, either ghosts or Bigfoot. Sometimes it was kind of disappointing, but it was still nice to get out there and walk around for a couple hours, kind of clear my head, come back. And then that was probably one of my favorite spots. Black Star Canyon in Orange County, California, so far is probably my favorite spot besides Joe's. Joe's property it's special. I mean, he's literally got a family of Bigfoots living in and around his area, and they're not afraid of him. They come down and they check out to see what he's doing. They're curious, and as he's kind of expanded his research and become part of our team, and now he's helping us out in finding more witnesses and stuff like that in his area to go research, because his area is there's just thousands of miles, not thousands, hundreds of miles of forest everywhere up there. And a lot of it is Bigfoot territory. I mean, they migrate through, or they live in those areas, or whatever. Maybe there's multiple family groups. Who knows? That is why we do the research, is to find out. Okay, so I think my two favorite investigations so far have been Black Star Canyon, and then also Joe's Camp. I think those are the two places, because I've had so many experiences there. If you watch our videos, you can see, on YouTube, you can see, all the crazy stuff that's happened, all the eye shine. That one peeking around a tree at us, and then the eyes opening as I do a tree knock, and it's literally, that Bigfoot must have been 3 or 4 feet away. I mean, I didn't see it. I mean, I walked into the bamboo forest the other day, and this loud knock right next to me, and it sounded like it was just feet from me. I couldn't see it. I caught it on your camera. Unfortunately, that little camera mic is not that great. So we'll talk about things that happen on investigations later at a different time. Anything can basically happen, and we have a lot of things that happen. Malfunctioning of camera, batteries draining, stuff like that. Oh, did I mention that most places that have Bigfoots also have ghosts? Or possibly haunted? Yeah, we'll talk about that another time. Okay, so let's answer the rest of these questions here. Yeah. So I was a long-haul trucker for about 3 years. And I essentially traveled through almost every state except for probably Alaska and Hawaii. And of course, we're a state in the U.S. I went from California across country to the East Coast most of the time, or into the middle of the country. I had several encounters that were probably Bigfoot related. We were driving, I had another driver with me, and we were driving through a snowstorm, and out of nowhere, inside these trucks, they have what's basically the equivalent of a tablet, a small tablet. And essentially what that has is all your information, where you're going, where you've been. It's like a digital time clock, essentially, and gives you information on what's in the load and all this other stuff. Anyways, so all of a sudden, out of nowhere, and this has never happened. This I was with another trucker in his truck. That just starts to malfunction out of nowhere, just stops working. So, and we're in the middle of a snowstorm. So it's probably snowing probably an inch or two an hour right now. And I'm pulling over. We had to pull over. I was about to start my shift, and we couldn't get the computer to work. And so we had to call dispatch, and we had to go through and blah, blah, blah. This was going on. And then we lost cell phone service. We couldn't call them either. So we were completely on our own. And I don't know if it was because of the weather or what. But so before you started driving, you had to basically do a walk around your truck. And so as I'm walking down the left side of the truck, if you're looking straight at it, the right side of the truck, if you're looking straight at it, I was walking down the trailer, just checking everything, making sure all the lines were still connected, making sure nothing had frozen, because I think it was like 22 degrees out or something, and got to the end of the trailer, and we were parked right next to the forest. I mean, literally about 20 feet from the forest. And I look over, and there's this thing standing there, big black solid thing with red eyes sitting there staring at me. And that creeped me the hell out. Oh my God, that scared me. Now, I was a big believer at this point in time. But I was like, okay, something was, it's just an overwhelming feeling of you shouldn't be here. Now, a lot of people say that Bigfoots can mess with electronics. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if they have some way of maybe manipulating electricity. Who knows? Some people say they're telepathic. I've never experienced any of that. So I don't know. I mean, I'm at this point in time, I've done this long enough so I can say, I can't not believe somebody fully. I'll check out their story and see if I can experience the same thing, and then hopefully I do. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Anywho, that was one experience with a possible Bigfoot. The other time I was in Ohio, I was driving, God, what seemed like forever. I was out in the middle of nowhere, and Ohio has a lot of, they have a lot of cornfields. And these cornfields, these corn stalks, they get, 10, 12, 13, 14 feet tall, right? So they were the top of my trailer was 16 feet. They were just about a foot or two shorter than that, so 14, 15 feet tall. And I pulled over because I was getting a little tired. It was 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I got out and I'm like, I'm just going to go walk the truck real quick. And as I get out, I just got this overwhelming, creepy feeling. Like you shouldn't have stopped here. I'm going, okay, what's going on here? I just chalked it up to, okay, I'm tired. Maybe I'm overthinking this, whatever. And so as I got out of the truck, I got down to the ground onto the asphalt, and I look over into the corn on the left side of me, because it's just basically a single lane highway each way with corn on either side for as far as you can see. Miles and miles and miles. And all of a sudden, 2 red eyes pop up from behind the corn. I can't see the top of anything. And I'm looking at them going, okay, this is why I feel creepy. And it never showed itself. But as I walked down the trailer, I got to the end, and it had followed me all the way down to the end, standing behind maybe 4 or 5 rows of corn, but just peering up over the top of it. Just 2 red eyes. And I'm like, okay. So I quickly walked down the other side of the trailer, on the other side, hopped back in the passenger side of the truck, got in, and took off. I did not park there for the night. What was that? I can't tell you it was a Bigfoot or it wasn't Bigfoot, but we'll see what happens. I mean, there's a lot of reports of Bigfoots in Ohio, and some of them are seen in cornfields and stuff. So this is getting a little bit long, guys. Let me just wrap it up by saying, because of the summer heat out here, Texas normally is in the 80s and 90s. We'd be out investigating Bigfoot right now during the weekends. But unfortunately, with this heat, it's really hard to camp because it's still 80 some odd degrees at night. And when you're off grid, and basically you're in the middle of nowhere, no power, you have to pack in whatever you want to use for the night. So unfortunately, we've got little fans and stuff, but those just don't take the edge off the heat. Whatever I can fit in a backpack plus the gear. I don't want to be carrying around 200 pounds worth of gear on my back. That's just not going to work. Plus Amanda, I don't want her carrying a ton of weight on her back while she's walking through that either. But our plan is to camp here probably at the end of summer. Normally we'd be camping right now, all the way probably till July. So I think what's going to end up happening, because of the heat, we're probably not going to be camping out and doing expeditions for a while until the heat kind of comes back down. It's well over 90 degrees during the day with quite a bit of humidity right now. So that's our future plans. We will be doing more Bigfoot research. Joe and I already have an expedition planned. I think I talked about that last time. So stay tuned, guys. We will have more Bigfoot stuff for you and other things. If there's something that you want to hear us talk about, you can email us. You can go on our website, deepwoodsparanormal.com. You can go in there and there's a form where you can ask a question, or you can go onto our Facebook page, deepwoodsparanormal.com. Leave a message under there. If you are on the podcast, the audio podcast still posts to Facebook, and then I'll post the audio there as well to a link back to our site, and then also the video too. You can go on our YouTube channel or just leave a comment on any of our social media saying, hey, can you talk about this? Or I had this experience and I'd like to come on. Whatever you want to do. We appreciate the comments. We appreciate the feedback. Thank you guys so much for listening. We really appreciate you. And we'll catch you on the next one.